Welcome back, TTS Daily Friday edition, Singapore edition. 5 stories today, actually all 5 are from Singapore. First up, we have an incident in Singapore mosques that we're just knowing now, followed by breaking news. Ken Lim has just been convicted for watch it later. And then thirdly, we have an update on the very tragic fatal Yishun noise dispute at Block 323. The fourth story would be, if I'm not wrong, 2 teenage boys have been arrested for mischief by fire. But if you take a look at the damage, you'll be the judge of that. And the last story of the day is the landlady who wanted to fight with her tenant. Yep. Let's kick things off. So a suspicious parcel arrived at Al Istiqamah Mosque on September 24, 2025 around 5:20 PM. Police and SCDF were then alerted and the SCDF deployed the hazmat specialists to the scene. The mosque was also immediately evacuated as a precaution and the surrounding area was cordoned off. SCDF hazmat checks then confirmed there were no hazardous substances found inside the parcel. However, one person experienced breathlessness and was taken to Sengkang General Hospital. Take note, such incidents where suspicious parcel can arrive at places of worship can cause panic, fear and anxiety. So, as we have here, one person experienced breathlessness. The next day, in the morning of September 25th, Home Affairs Minister K. Shanmugam revealed that the parcel contained meat and at first sight appeared to be pork. But this is not confirmed as of yet. He also emphasized that targeting a mosque is unacceptable, calling the act playing with fire as such actions are inflammatory and vowed firm actions against perpetrators. He then also revealed and confirmed to us that similar suspicious parcels were recently sent to other mosques in Singapore too, and police are now doing investigations to see if there are possible connections. He also warned that Singapore should not turn their places of worship into fortresses, as places of worship should be open to public, so we have to balance security with openness. He also noted that similar acts such as this has happened abroad that has caused deep divisions and distrust between communities, and Singapore must work to prevent this. So Singapore has extensive network of CCTV footage and security cameras. We hope that police investigations will be able to identify the culprits soon. Ken Lim, 61-year-old music producer, former Singapore Idol judge and executive director of Hype Records, was just convicted on September 26, 2025 of inappropriately touching a 25-year-old woman during a work-related interview. This is breaking news that just happened today. The inappropriately touching occurred on November 23, 2021 at the Hype Records office in Henderson Road during the third interview with the victim. So, brief context on what happened. Ken Lim asked the victim to him. After the first he requested a more passionate one and the victim obliged. During the second he touched her. The victim then pulled away and left, citing it was against her morals. Okay, now for a bit more background context. The victim met Lim 3 times starting in early November 2021 after being contacted via the app I to the G for potential collaborations. In the first meeting, Ken Lim discussed the victim's relationships and even, advised her, telling her to delete any revealing photos and also mention past accusations against him. In the second meeting on November 18, 2021, Ken Lim asked the victim if she would perform explicit act on a director as a test of performance mode under pressure or have activity to bring about change. The year was 2021. The victim was building her social media presence in art, influencing and modeling. After the incident happened, she went home, was really quiet and then finally shared the incident with her then boyfriend and a female friend. Together, they lodged a police report with also T to the G screenshots, though some of the chat history from T to the G have been removed because certain chats had a timer before it was deleted. Her friend, the victim's friend, described the victim as being traumatized and disgusted, even mentioning about Lim's joke about tying the victim up. Okay, now the judge actually found the victim's testimony to be unusually convincing and truthful without embellishment, creating no reasonable doubt of Lim's guilt, while Ken Lim was deemed an untruthful and unreliable witness, willing to make self-serving false claims. Because Ken Lim's police statement did include admissions like touching the victim's lower back, calling her babe, dimming the lights, and sending a message about tying her up, which aligned with the victim but contradicted his court denials. The defense of Ken Lim denied the allegations, denied kissing even happened during the third interview, and also claiming the act was awkward to impossible due to physical implausibility. And they also cited Ken Lim's long career without improper behavior and argued the victim's evidence was incredulous and exaggerated. The judge rejected that argument given their proximity and noted inconsistencies in supporting testimonies did not undermine the victim's evidence. Ken Lim attended the hearing with loved ones and shook his head at the guilty verdict. The case is now adjourned for mitigation and sentencing on November 18, 2025. For outright modesty, Lim faces up to 2 years jail or a fine. He cannot be caned as he is over 50. For background context, Ken Lim is undergoing 5 separate trials for explicit offences involving 5 alleged victims, with charges including modesty and insulting modesty spanning from 1998 to 2021. The first trial last year, Ken Lim has been acquitted of all charges as the witness was found to be not credible. The second trial just concluded today, where Ken Lim is convicted of inappropriately touching. The remaining 3 trials involve more charges across more women, but specific incident dates and charge details are not publicly detailed due to ongoing proceedings and gag orders. Okay, here's an update on the Yishun fatal dispute. So we now know that the assailant is actually 66 years old, Singaporean, Mr. Koh Ah Hui. And the victim is Miss Nguyen Phong Tra, 30 years old, Vietnamese. Her husband was also injured during the altercation. The assailant, the victim, and her husband, all 3 were taken to the hospital where, sadly, Miss Nguyen Phong Tra later succumbed to her injuries at the hospital. And we also know from MP Jackson Lam that he has been in contact with the victim's sister and have given his contact details to her, and his main priority now are the victim's 2 young sons. Once again, our condolences, thoughts and prayers to the victim, her family and her loved ones. Last night in Singapore, a fire broke out at Block 510 Ang Mo Kio Avenue 8 just before 8:25 PM at the lift lobby on the 7th floor, where a personal mobility aid and several bicycles caught fire. By 8:30 PM, the SCDF, Singapore Civil Defence Force, received an alert and quickly arrived, and firefighters managed to extinguish the flames, but not before the fire had damaged furniture near the lift lobby. And because of that, about 90 residents had to be evacuated from the block for safety. Among them, 11 people aged 18 months to 85 years old had to be treated for smoke inhalation. All of them were taken to the hospital. Thankfully, they were conscious and stable. There are no fatalities, and also thankfully, no fire damage inside any residential units. Damage was reserved to the lift lobby area. And here is the plot twist. People were wondering, PMA on fire again. I mean, recently we have been having news where PMD devices caught on fire, PMA caught on fire. Is this related to the battery again? Well, the police later found the cause of fire. They have arrested 2 teenage boys aged 16 and 17 for their suspected involvement. They are now being charged of mischief by fire. This term is very interesting because we'll be thinking they set stuff on fire. So why aren't they charged with arson? Why is it called mischief by fire? Are we talking about the same thing? Well, the thing is, mischief by fire means that the 2 teens caused the fire deliberately but without the intention of large-scale destruction, like arson. So once again, arson is like intentional setting property or things on fire with usually malicious intent to destroy, to cause panic, to harm others. And mischief by fire is fire set deliberately but without the direct intent to unalive or cause large-scale destruction. Did she just challenge her tenant to a one-on-one? I mean 1v1. This is your last story of the day. Follow us for more. So on July 27, 2024, inside the Sunny Spring condominium unit at Geylang Lorong 40, Singapore, this landlady, 51 years old, questioned her tenant Cheng Yong-sin, 44 years old, about, were you cooking in your room? And that conversation quickly escalated into a pretty huge quarrel, argument that both sides started exchanging regards, sending regards to each other, okay? And then the landlady actually asked Chen if he wanted to fight, a 1v1, a one-on-one. After asking Chen, she picked up a sharp object and started pointing it at Chen, okay? Chen, by the way, is the defendant in this case, okay? Chen then wanted to protect himself, and apparently there were no shields around him that could shield him from a sharp object, so he instead picked up a can of insecticide spray. During this heated dispute, there was a point when the landlady maybe cooled down a little bit and put that sharp object down. However, Chen's word kind of triggered her, angered her again, the landlady, and she picked up the sharp object once more and this time started chasing Chen. Cheng Yong-sin, once again, is the defendant here. The landlady asking the tenant, who is also the defendant, if he wanted to 1v1, have a fight, using a sharp object in her hand and chasing him. Now, the landlady's son happened to be at the scene. He had enough and wanted to intervene before things escalated out of hand, okay? So then, the argument briefly stopped for a while. However, soon after, another round of conflict broke out between Cheng Yong-sin, the tenant, and the landlady, 51 years old. At this point, Chen decided he will use his insecticide spray and spray it directly into the landlady's eyes. So the prosecution argued that Chen had previous criminal records, including voluntarily causing hurt and harassment-related offences. However, Chen's defence pleaded for leniency, noting that while Chen had past convictions, they were from more than 10 years ago and he had not committed any crimes in the past decade. So on September 24, 2025, Chen appeared in court and pleaded guilty to violating the Protection from Harassment Act, and he has been fined 2,500 Singapore dollars by the court.